And Chad, did we start the live stream?
Yeah, live stream is going and so is recording.
Thank you. Then thank you everyone for joining, and we'll just wait a few minutes for everyone to hop on and the First Lady to arrive.
Hi, Julie. Good to see you.
I'm sitting in a hotel lobby, so I'm going to be mute a lot.
Yeah, technology makes it so we can do our work a little bit too much everywhere. So, are you any place interesting, Julie, at least?
Medford.
Oh, you're down the
I'm just,
road.
yeah, I'm just waiting for a room. Yeah, OCBH is having a meeting here this weekend, or this
Nice.
week.
It's my territory. You're just down the road.
Exactly.
And welcome, Sean. And just FYI for folks that live streaming has started. Welcome for folks who've just joined. We will wait a few more minutes, and an FYI that live streaming has started.
All right, Taylor, just for fun, I think one of these meetings we should get everybody to do a background from where they are in Oregon so we can see the whole state in front of us. So I cannot coordinate that, but Taylor, if you are so inclined, I'm kicking it to you.
I will do my best. I'll try and make it happen.
Yeah, it's great to see people from across the state here. I'm so glad to just have all the representation. Thanks everybody for showing up.
Hello. One more minute. We're just, I was in a different, I was doing, Bethany and I were in a different Zoom room. So we're, hold please. Okay. Okay, can everybody hear me? Okay. All right. Thank you once again for joining us. Doing the meetings live streamed and recorded. I'm excited to kick up our third Behavioral Health Council. Today's going to be really short and focused. So we'll probably take about 45 minutes or so, and then you'll get your day back to you. We're going to work on just talking about the subcommittees that will then go ahead and develop the action plans. So first, we're just going to outline the subcommittee's next steps. Then Robin is going to walk us through the prioritization framework, which we previewed and we got feedback from folks. And so she's going to go over the framework that people have weighed in on. Then I'm going to close it out by reviewing the dates of our next meeting and if people want something else on the agenda to let us know. Questions as you go, feel free to put them in the chat, feel free to put questions and answers in the feature on Zoom. And then the email invite you received should have Chad Albright's information, and call him if you have any tech issues. Okay, yay! So subcommittee assignments. This is super exciting. Thank you to everybody who's gone through this process. We got people's information, and each member of the committee has now been assigned to a subcommittee. The assignments were sent prior to the meeting, and now they're all final. We're really excited for the expertise and the wisdom that each of you are going to bring to the subcommittees. It's a really good mix of folks. Also, thank you for being flexible, and so we could create subcommittees that are balanced. We got people where they wanted to be, while also considering that we needed to spread expertise throughout all of the committees. And then the HEC Talent Council assessment recommendations for each committee have been finalized. We went through that in our last meeting of where things were going to go. And then now we've put people into those subcommittees. So we have placed people now with content. And this is when we're getting ready for the magic to happen. And so there were some small changes, let's see, from the last meeting, from discussion and feedback. And Taylor was going to summarize some of those changes. They were highlighted in green in the assignment document in your materials.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone. So just to give me a moment here to share screen, I just wanted to make sure that folks were able to see the changes to the assignments for the subcommittees. Are y'all able to see? This is a little small, so let me zoom in here. So I'll just walk through it quickly, and then this is in your packets, but just want to acknowledge the changes that were made to the HEC Talent Assessment assignment recommendations to the subcommittees based on your feedback. So we have added behavioral health technicians to the Educational and Training Pathways Committee as well. That was a recommendation from the group, so thank you. You will also note that for cost of education, financial aid, and loan forgiveness, that Educational and Training Pathways has also been added to these three. There was a specific recommendation for there to be kind of a co-lead model, and would just say that for all of the recommendations where there are multiple subcommittees working on them, staff will kind of help support coordination here. So I would consider this to be that both of these subcommittees will be working together on these particular recommendations. And let's see. For the recommendation around subsidizing clinical supervision, that was also added to educational and training pathways based on feedback from last meeting. And I believe that those were all of the pieces of feedback and changes based on that feedback. So I will stop sharing screen and happy to take questions. Back to you, First Lady. You're muted.
Right. Now, thank you. Now we just want to move in a little bit, moving on to the timeline. Taylor did some presentations on the timeline last time. There have been some minor changes to the subcommittee and council meeting schedule, mostly because we wanted to ensure that that the subcommittees had sufficient time to work on the deliverables that were assigned to them. Right. So when we looked at the calendar, we're like, we actually think people are going to need a little bit more time to get some more things fleshed out before we kind of reconvene. And our goal here is always to use your time as efficiently as possible, while also using your expertise. So Taylor, would you talk a little bit more about what those changes are?
Yes, thank you so much. So just like the First Lady mentioned, there were some slight adjustments to the time during which subcommittees were going to start meeting. So subcommittees, per coordination with the vice chair of that subcommittee have the option of getting together next week for more of a meet and greet if folks want to get together and get to know each other. The work of the subcommittees has been pushed back by 1 week, like the First Lady mentioned, to ensure that subcommittees have 2 full weeks, also considering that lots of folks may be out of town or have plans next week because it's a holiday weekend. So the subcommittees will really start their work between July 7th and July 18th on those 3 deliverables that we discussed that will be presented to the council at the council's next meeting. And those are prioritizing the recommendations that you all have been assigned using the framework that is considered later today. That includes identifying subject matter experts to be invited to listen in on the meetings, to be able to enhance their ability to provide feedback throughout the process and to ensure subcommittees are well supported with subject matter expertise, as well as a community engagement or stakeholder engagement plan. So this is the draft plan for subcommittees to do more proactive outreach to solicit feedback from folks who may not have time to listen in on all of the subcommittee meetings, but their feedback and expertise is still invaluable to the work. So those are 3 things that your staff who are supporting the subcommittees are working on as we speak, so that they will have drafts to present to you for feedback when you begin meeting the second week of July. And because of those changes to the subcommittee meeting time, the next full council meeting will be on July 24th. And at that meeting, subcommittees will present on the community engagement plans and will share out the prioritization of your recommendations. So those are my updates. That was a lot of talking. It is also reflected in your packets, but happy to also take questions or hear out concerns if folks have them.
I'm just wondering, have the subcommittees already been scheduled and did I miss that?
They have not yet been scheduled. So each subcommittee posts this. Oh, great. So each subcommittee, folks will start to see calendar invitations and or receive outreach to get a sense of your availability. So folks will try their best to make sure that the time works for everyone.
I just want to make sure I didn't miss something.
And just to clarify, the Education and Training Committee is scheduled for their first meeting. So I think all the subcommittees are just at a different place in the process, Jamie. So not to stress.
And let me fill that in too. It is staff will be able to, the meetings for next week are kind of a meet and greet opportunity, and it's a great idea. There's a lot of expertise in this group, and your ability to cross pollinate and check in with each other. It is also a busy time, and so then staff will be able to catch up after that. But if people wanted to meet to just connect with each other and start to build those relationships, that's a great way. So there was one that Robin is ahead of the game and they're going to do some meeting, but you didn't miss anything. You're perfectly on time.
Perfect, thank you. My assistant is leaving me, so I'm on my own here on the schedule.
No, but people are it'll be, and let us know, it's going to be a fun Rubik's Cube game. But I think we'll get there. We'll in terms of finding the right times. And it's a smaller group that you'll be working with, so you'll have less schedules to juggle. And I'm hopeful you guys will find things that work. Jamming along. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So the prioritization framework that we presented a little bit, we threw up some questions, and then we said that we would talk about it, and then we would vote to adopt or not adopt the prioritization framework at this next meeting. And so I was hoping that Robin is prepared to lead us through this exercise. And I don't know if people know that Robin, if not, I'll try to say this as often as I can. Robin was also a part of the original Behavioral Health Talent Council report, and so also brings that perspective. And so I'm just really happy to have her here and agreeing to lead us through this framework to figure out how we're going to now prioritize the great work that came out of the report.
Thank you so much, First Lady. I really appreciate that. And I'm grateful to be here with you all. You all probably remember the prioritization framework that we talked about last time. I can't remember, Taylor, if you were the one that walked us through it, but I think we got a good sense of it. If you wouldn't mind, Taylor, just popping that up so that everybody can have a refresh to what we were talking about.
Happy to. One moment.
That looks great. Thanks so much, Taylor. So remembering that the prioritization framework is really just a way for us to think about, out of this giant list of recommendations we've been given, how do we have some way to process all of this to figure out what we want to focus on? And so it's really looking at feasibility and impact. And I'm sure that many of you have seen a model similar to this, if not this exact model, when you've thought about prioritizing just decisions that need to be made. So this would be a really straightforward way to help us ground our priorities in both feasibility and impact. And so what we'd like to do is go ahead, as the First Lady said, just to vote on if this framework would make sense for us. And so before we do that, I just want to invite any questions or comments about the framework, anything we need to address before we vote on if we want to go ahead and use it. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands or hearing anybody unmute. And I'm not surprised. Like I said, this should be pretty familiar for folks. So Taylor, if you could go ahead and pull down the slide. And I think First Lady, are you gonna guide us through voting on the framework?
I mean, we're kind of so we were thinking when we talked about this, we thought a show of hands might be a way to go about it. Everybody who is, I should probably make sure that I have the right screen being seen. Hold on, let me change my screen view. So let's do it. Is anybody uncomfortable with adopt? How about we'll do the inverse. Does anybody have a problem with adopting the framework as it is? If you do, raise your hand. Okay, great. Awesome. The only thing I want to make sure that it's clear about that framework is we had talked about with the report that we wanted to make sure we had a recommendation for every item. But we are also relying on expertise and not saying that all items are created equally. And so you'll notice in the matrix, it gives the committees flexibility to say, this is a hold off for, so some of these things are like, that actually could be the recommendation, that this is something that's going to take this amount of time. And so it's important that people, we want to make sure we address all of the recommendations in the report, but that's not the same as being able to implement all of them equally. And it also opens it up for your guidance and expertise, as well as the guidance and expertise of the outreach that we're going to do, and of the subject matter experts that we're going to consult with. And so there needed to be room in there to move on things and then have other things take a lower priority. Okay. Great. So we are jamming along. So for the most part, framework is adopted. This is what we had to do today. We are thinking, when we think about now what happens is we work with folks to set up council meetings. When we think about the next agenda for the next meeting, January 24th, by that time, the dust will have settled with a legislative session, and we were thinking it would be advantageous to have a presentation from the governor's team about what passed and didn't pass that's relevant to the work ahead. So yeah, that's okay. Then we'll want to have a little bit about the subcommittees will report out on their community engagement plans, and then we'll have feedback and discussion on that. And then they'll also be reporting out on the prioritization framework for the council to review and approve. So that's what, between now and our next meeting, what lies ahead. And that is all of that we have to accomplish today. Is there other, and we knew we'd get people out of here pretty early, but if there's other items that people want to talk about, I'd like to open up the floor.
I was just wondering, and I apologize, I haven't totally gone through the packet if it's in there. It just is when, is there a timeline when we would expect to hear from the committees? And
Yes, folks should be hearing from your subcommittees in terms of starting to work on scheduling by, I would say, end of this week.
okay, thank you.
Yes. I think we've got a couple of hands.
Yeah. Kind of. Rachel.
Okay, thank you. So just one clarifying question, because right now, if I'm seeing everything, it's one chart. And if you look at your subcommittee and you can kind of see currently how it is being prioritized, and then maybe at the first subcommittee meeting, we will use the framework to discuss it as a subcommittee. Is that what we should start thinking about, preparing for that, reviewing that so we come prepared?
Yeah, I can jump in on that. That's a great question. So the order of the recommendations currently is just numeric in the materials that you have. So no prioritization currently reflected. However, staff are working on taking now that the recommendation assignments are final and that the framework is approved, is trying to apply the framework to the recommendation so that they have a starting point for you. So you should receive those as materials before your first subcommittee meeting. So that is what you should review to be prepared to give feedback on.
That makes sense of why I couldn't find a one, because that didn't necessarily match up. Thank you so much for that clarification.
Also, and great job, Carol. I'm just clarifying. We talked about this that staff will prepare a draft as a starting point. It's always easy to work off of something in a blank page. No, it's a starting point. It's yours. It's yours to work out with your team. But that way it just as I think people have seen it moves the conversation much faster.
I think Ebony's hand is up too.
Oh, Ebony.
All right. Awesome. Can everyone hear me? Okay.
You can.
All right. I'm having computer issues. Sorry for not being on camera. This is more of just an FYI and happy to kind of get guidance later. But I, in the last week and a half, have had a request from two tables or groups to come and talk about kind of workforce priorities. They're asking for opportunity to share with me, kind of their thoughts, recommendations, and ask. And so, want to make sure that I'm in lockstep with you, First Lady, and the council. And I assume that we can build some of this into kind of the community engagement strategy. But, I'm going to hold and, Taylor, I'll wait to kind of check in and get guidance from you, but just want to make sure that, we have a recommendation for as we have folks reaching outside of this process, how do we want to kind of work through that just so that we're all aligned and in lockstep?
Well, first of all, I love that people are reaching out. That feels really exciting. People are reaching out to us too, and I think good work catches on, and so I feel like people are gonna be connected to different communities, and our opportunity to talk about this work, and most importantly to get feedback from the people who do the work it is super exciting to me. And so I definitely don't want to limit that. I appreciate your Ebony, as we're trying to figure out what are the right things. How do we kind of create some some talking points for people around presentations? Because I think that would be helpful to be uniformed. But I also want to, if people in their local communities are getting questions and can do that, I want to support them in it, because this is a statewide council, and the issues are different regionally, and you can also go to people and meet with people directly in the community in a different way. And so I want to be able to enable that to happen as your time allows, because I'm also aware that people might also get asked, and that just may be too difficult in addition to the stuff that's happening at the council. So those are my thoughts on that piece. And then I was going to turn it over to Taylor to talk specifically about how they can interface with the council on outreach and the subject matter expert.
Yes, thank you, First Lady. So just on logistics, as everybody is hearing from, if you are hearing from folks who are either wanting to listen in on subcommittees, present, or have conversation about the council, once your staff leads reach out to you on Friday for scheduling, you'll also have their contact information, and it's great to just forward those types of ideas and requests to them so they can capture it all in the two sort of primary mechanisms there are for engagement, which is that subject matter expert group, and then the community engagement plans that they'll be drafting for you for your consideration. So forwarding it along to them, and we can also after this meeting as a follow-up, share out contact information and staff leads for each of your subcommittees so you have that proactively. So that's what I would recommend in terms of how to make sure that information is all captured in the work of the subs.
Anymore. Oh, and one other thing I might say to that too is I think it's okay to wait one of the things out of is waiting a second as the recommendations. And I've just been clear with people, if you go a month later, it's going to be a better use of your time, and that the council will have had a little bit more to work on. And so sometimes people are just excited about it and they want to be a part of it, which is great. And just you can say, well, you know, in a month or in a few months, we're going to have a much better picture to present on. And so sometimes it's just arranging it. I think there's also ways to arrange the calendar to where there's just more to talk about. And then making sure that people have the email. So if they want to send information, or if there's something that you go to and people, and it's okay that they, with the group, that this gets shared, that then you can then forward it to that email address as a way for people to also get their information out there. I went to a couple of things that were really interesting. And that was one of the things I was going to follow up and check in and say, how, you know, would people be interested in having that information forwarded on to the council via email? I can do that. Anyone can do it. Anyone can access the email address. Other questions?
I might flag, since we have a little bit of time, First Lady, just what came up in the last meeting about other work groups that are also taking on workforce-related recommendations. So we are lucky in Oregon to have a lot of leaders in this space, which is so incredible. And to support your all's prioritization work at the subcommittee level, we will be kind of indicating if there are any recommendations that are also currently under discussion elsewhere to support that coordination and collaboration. So just be aware that when you get your updated list, that information will be included for you, and staff are aware and helping to support.
Okay. If there are no other questions, we'll look forward to staff are going to reach out. People are going to get started. Our next full meeting is July 24th. And again, thank you so much. This is where the magic's gonna happen. I'm excited for everybody to be able to be in smaller groups and get to connect. And you'll have staff support around it. And I look forward to our next meeting when we'll have some stuff behind us, and then we'll also have an opportunity to talk about the legislative session and what happened and what's left, what didn't happen, and then also what else we'll do. And just know that for the other groups that are working on similar issues, I believe that everybody can cross the finish line at the same time. If you're working on these issues, it means you care about them. And so there's a way for us to work together. And I look forward to doing it. All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you in July.
Thank you.